A poor young man worked as a caretaker for a blind billionaire until she opened her office.
The situation requires absolute I know this news will come as a shock to you.
Please, you have...
The first thing they told him about Isolde March was that she hadn't seen light in 14 years. The second was that she still controlled 4 companies, 2 investment trusts, and an art collection insured for more than the GDP of small countries. Lucas Hale stood in the marble foyer of the March Foundation as rain combed the glass like cold fingers. He was 26, debt-heavy and soft-spoken, with steady hands that hospitals liked and corporations ignored. He'd spent the last 2 years pushing wheelchairs, changing dressings, brewing bitter coffee that patients swore tasted like warmth. The agency called yesterday private client. Long hours, discretion mandatory. A door opened. Footsteps measured the distance to him, soft leather, decisive rhythm. "Mr. Hale," a voice said, low, precise, "come in." They seated him by a window that poured a river of gray light across the table. The assistant asked routine questions. Lucas responded with the calm of someone who had learned not to expect good news. Then the assistant paused, glanced at the inner door, and said, "Ms. March would like to speak with you herself." The inner door whispered. A woman entered, guided lightly by a man in a charcoal suit who disappeared the instant she reached the chair opposite Lucas. Her cane was matte black. Her hair was silver without apology. Dark glasses covered eyes that stared at the world through distance and memory. "Caregivers talk too much," Isolde said. "You look like someone who's learned to stay quiet." "Mostly," Lucas answered. "Do you drink coffee? Do you judge after I understand?" "Sometimes not even then." A corner of her mouth moved, almost a smile, almost a warning. "You will live on the estate. You will read to me at night. Escort me through galleries I can't see. Describe canvases as if they still matter. You will brew tea correctly, which is to say without violence." She tilted her head. "You understand violence, Mr. Hale. Enough to avoid it." "Good," she said. "I don't hire men who enjoy it." The interview lasted 11 minutes. The offer came with a signature and a key. "You begin tomorrow," her assistant said. "Discretion isn't in the contract because discretion is the contract." Outside, the rain turned the city into mirrors. Lucas looked down at the key in his palm, antique brass, older than his student loans, and wondered what doors it opened besides the obvious. He took the job. He told himself it was only work. He was wrong. The March estate wasn't a mansion so much as a geography colonnades like ribs, a winter garden with stone angels half swallowed by ivy, a gallery whose roof hummed in storms. The staff moved like the hours present, unburdensome, inevitable. Eamon, the house manager, spoke in parentheses, not the whole truth, just enough of it to keep the story going. "Ms. March lives on routines," Eamon said as they walked past glass and shadow. 7 a.m., tea, 9 a.m., calls, noon stroll in the sculpture court. "She likes rain. She hates pity. Learn the house, it will learn you." "Learn me?" Lucas asked. Eamon smiled without humor. "You'll see." Isolde's world was scent and texture, cedar soap, bergamot tea, the smooth lip of a porcelain cup. She remembered rooms by their acoustics, the way her cane found the seam between stone and rug, the hush of a corridor that swallowed footsteps whole. She listened to Lucas like a painting listens to light, letting his descriptions fill a space sight could not. In the evenings he read aloud, not the usual comfort books, but depositions, market memoirs, and letters from artists who asked for grants with poems that begged without looking like begging. "People become honest," she said once, "only when they are afraid, or when they fail. Read me fear, Mr. Hale, read me failure." He did. And he learned the way her silence shifted when something mattered, a breath held half a second too long, a finger resting on the desk's scar like it was braille. The house listened. Sometimes Lucas woke at night thinking he'd heard footsteps that belonged to no one, alarms that blinked behind walls instead of on them. The kitchen clock ticked in 3s, the library clock in 5s. Wealth buys precision, Eamon said when Lucas asked about the clocks. And secrets, mostly secrets. On the 8th night, as the storm rattled the glass, Isolde asked, "Tell me the painting opposite the door." Lucas faced the canvas, a woman seated, hands folded like a prayer someone taught and she never unlearned. Brush strokes like rain, a signature barely there. Blue on gray, he said, rain pinned to fabric. She's waiting for someone who won't come, or will come and leave. Isolde's hand stilled over the rim of her teacup. That's not what the critic said. I don't trust people paid to name feelings. Lucas replied. Good, she said. I don't either. They fell into a rhythm that felt suspiciously like peace. He learned the sound of her amusement, the choreography of her irritation. She learned his carefulness in the way he measured rooms before crossing them, as if childhood had taught him to map exits before entrances. Who taught you to count danger like breath, she asked once. My father, he said, by example. You're honest, she said. It makes you useful. It also makes you dangerous. To whom do people who prefer mirrors? 3 weeks in, Isolde announced it the way one discusses weather. I'm having surgery. Lucas paused with the teapot mid-air. I didn't know you were a candidate. I wasn't, she said, until I decided to be. Eamon appeared with a folder of consent forms that looked less like medicine and more like war. The surgeon's name was a rumor that hospitals spoke softly, as if syllables could jinx steadiness. Why now, Lucas asked. Isolde turned her face toward the window. Outside. The winter garden was a negative white statuary against green that refused to die. There are some faces, she said. I'm finished not seeing. He wanted to ask which faces. He knew better than to ask. The night before the surgery. She asked Lucas to read the file he kept in his pocket and never opened. The one with a judge's letterhead and a signature that looked like a tremor frozen mid-shake. How did you, he began. Your jacket tells on you, she said. Paper sized differently than cloth. Lucas unfolded the letter. In the matter of State versus Hale, he read it aloud the way one reads an epitaph, then stopped at the sentence that had kneecapped his 20s. Parole granted, immediate supervision by designated program. Your father, Isolde said. What did he take? Time, Lucas answered. From other people, then from me. Do you forgive him? I don't know the word for living forward when the past feels like quicksand. Survival, she said, not forgiveness. He looked at her glasses, at a face that had learned to pretend indifference as a way to stay intact. Why do you want to see again, Ms. March? She smiled a knife, to decide whether I still want to be blind. The surgery happened behind glass and genius. The recovery happened in a room that smelled like mint and sterilized hope. On the third morning, the bandages came away like snow. Her pupils shrank from light. Lucas waited, not breathing. Isolde took in shadow, then shape, then the one thing people crave most when they've been in the dark too long faces. She looked at him. For a long time, she said nothing. Then, very evenly, you have his eyes. Who's Lucas asked, although the answer had already begun to bleed through his veins. Ethan Hale, she said. Your father. Lucas's throat went dry. You know him. No, she repeated, tasting the word like a relic. Your father introduced my husband to ruin the way a tour guide introduces tourists to a city they will not survive. What are you saying? She removed the glasses and laid them on the tray. Her eyes were a blue that had learned winter by heart. I chose you long before the agency called you, Isolde said softly. And I chose to see again, because there are debts a woman should look in the eye when she collects. Lightning stitched the sky together, somewhere deep in the house. A clock decided to be honest about time. Why me, Lucas asked, though he already knew. Why bring me into your home if I, what she said, wanted blood? Her smile wasn't unkind, that made it worse. I wanted proof. Of what? That sons can be better than their fathers. After sight returned, the estate rearranged itself around Isolde. Rooms became reconnaissance. Corridors became courtrooms. She walked without her cane. She looked at portraits and made micro-expressions only Eamon understood. The staff learned a new protocol: draw curtains before she entered, remove mirrors, leave paper where fingertips could find it. She was hungry the way a survivor is hungry for names, for textures, for accountability. Lucas, suddenly visible, found himself both watched and forgiven and not forgiven at all. He kept to his tasks. He narrated paintings and forgot how to be neutral. He watched her touch frames the way a person touches gravestones. Like conversing with the dead matters more than convincing the living. One afternoon, she asked to see the North Gallery, a place Eamon had described as closed for conservation, which is how wealthy houses say we keep ghosts here. The gallery door had a key unlike the others, square-shouldered, heavy, insistent. Inside, dust wore sunlight like a veil. Stacked canvases dozed against the wall. On a central easel, a portrait no critic had ever seen. A man at a desk, sleeves rolled to the forearms, a ring like a small crown on his middle finger, the ring of the March Trust. The artist had caught the microsecond before a smile turns into confidence or into fraud. "My husband," Isolde said. Lucas studied the face. He had seen that posture in men with beautiful plans and ugly methods. "He looks persuasive." "He was," she said, especially to himself. "Who painted it? I did." He turned. "You paint." "I used to. Why did you stop?" She looked at the hands on the canvas, then at her own. "Because I realized there are men whose only art," she said quietly, "is convincing you your eyes lie to you." They stood there a long time, the living and the painted, everyone considering who owed whom what. When they left, Lucas lingered. On the easel's leg, not quite hidden and not at all obvious, a carving, initials, E.H. Beneath them, a date that made his stomach lean toward the floor. "Eamon," Lucas asked later, when people were far enough away to be candid. "Did Ethan Hale ever—" "Step foot here," Eamon finished. "Yes, often. He was careful with his hands and careless with his consequences." "Miss March knows." "She knows more than you want her to," Eamon said. "The question is what she wants to do with that knowledge. And with you. What do you think she wants?" "An ending," Eamon said. "Not necessarily justice. Something finished. Wealth keeps its sins in ledgers that look like architecture." Lucas found the door by accident, which is another way of saying the house had been waiting for him to find it. Past the north gallery, through a side hall whose paintings ended in a mirror. A narrow stair led down to a room, whose lock recognized the key in Lucas's pocket. The antique brass Isolde had given him on his first day. It turned with a resistance that felt like a test. The room beyond was cool and smelled of paper that had learned to outlive its authors. On the table, the ledger, not of art, not of donations, of names and dates and amounts and outcomes. The book wasn't merely a record, it was a map of harm. Hale Capital appeared often first as savior, then as storm. For each investment a company saved, a board realigned, a family that bled cleanly in the footnotes. Lucas ran a finger down a column the way one traces the shape of a bruise. His father's signature appeared like a refrain. And then another signature. Careful and smaller, March. Entries that didn't match the public story. Transfers that looked generous from far away and precise from up close. Partnerships that were really distractions. A trust that moved money from one pocket to another. While the trousers changed names. He felt nausea rise, followed by clarity. "Find what you didn't know you were looking for," Isolde said from the doorway. Lucas shut the ledger. "You could have told me." "I could have," she said, "but confession without discovery is theater." He gestured toward the book. "Why keep this?" "To remember, to refuse forgetting. Men bury their sins in funds with beautiful names. I prefer ledgers." "You worked with him," Lucas said. "With my father." "Against him," she corrected. "Sometimes that looks the same until the last page." Lucas breathed, then decided to be a person he could live with. "What do you want from me?" Isolde stepped into the room. Her eyes, new to light and old to pain, held his without blinking. "I wanted to know whether proximity to harm corrupts everyone," she said. "If children inherit methods the way they inherit jawlines." And you found the ledger," she said, and closed it without photographing it. "I'm not a thief," he said. "Not anymore." "Not anymore," she raised an eyebrow. He studied the floor. "Sometimes poverty turns honesty into a luxury." He looked up. "I don't want to be poor if it means becoming him." They stood in the ledger room surrounded by other people's damage. In court, that's called context. In houses like this, it's called decor. "Tell me what you'd do," she said. "If the law could only punish the symptom, I'd change the story," he said. "So boys like me don't have to learn hunger's grammar." Her gaze softened by degrees. "You say that as if building is easier than burning." "It isn't," Lucas said. "It's just the only thing that keeps a house standing." "Then build," Isolde said. He frowned.
Build what?
"Build what?" "What I should have built when I was 26, she said. "An exit." Isolde made calls. Not the kind rich people make when they want tables and flattery. The kind that move boards and make men say yes when they mean oh, God. A team arrived without fanfare, forensic accountants who treated numbers like blood spatter, compliance attorneys who had forgotten how to smile, an investigator whose greatest talent was invisibility. Lucas watched them slice the March Trust open and label organs for evidence. He watched names of companies become names of people, payrolls, pensions, parents whose businesses had been restructured into ghosts. He watched a system celebrate itself in memos. "Your father will make the news again," Isolde said one night as Wynne leaned on the eaves. "He's been dead 5 years," Lucas said. "News is for the living. Consequences are for the rest of us." The plan had 2 spines. First return. The trust would liquidate art bought with profits from predatory deals and create a fund to repay victims who had paperwork and those who only had stories. Second rebuild. A school for forensic finance that trained students to do what auditors only pretend to do. A clinic for entrepreneurs whose companies were one invoice away from annihilation. "That's not revenge," Lucas said. "No," Isolde replied. "It's repair. Revenge pretends to be repair until it sees a mirror." "You could destroy the Hale name," he said. She sipped jasmine tea, eyes somewhere past the window. "Why would I destroy what already destroys itself?" He waited. "I thought sight would make me want blood," she said. "It made me want a world where I'm not the only one who gets to choose how the story ends." On a Tuesday, smelling of rain and print toner, Eamon brought a package that looked like a threat pretending to be mail. Inside a photograph, 12 years old. A charity gala, Isolde in black like a verdict, her husband Adrian beside her. And a third figure, smiling the way men smile when they have recently won. It's something that will cost the room later. Ethan Hale. On the back, a note in a hand Lucas recognized from the ledger. "You're welcome." "Who sent this?" Isolde asked. Anonymous sender. Eamon said,
Cash payment.
"Courier paid in cash." "Anonymous is a costume men wear when they think we'll recognize them," Isolde murmured. Lucas flipped the photograph over again. He tried to reconcile the man who broke his childhood with the man whose tie knot looked like patience. "He looks convincing," Isolde said. "He always did." "What did he convince your husband to do?" "Believe that numbers are kinder than people," she said. "And that kindness is a cost center?" Lucas felt the old shame and the new anger meet in his throat. "If I give this to the auditors, they will use it," she said. "The press will decide who you are by the shape. Your father left in the air. What if I want to be something else, then be? I can teach you to pay." "Lucas, I can't teach you to be." He put the photograph back in the envelope and sealed it with his palm like a promise. That night, Isolde took him to the North Gallery and stood him before her portrait of Adrian. "Tell me what you see now." "A man who preferred futures to apologies," Lucas said. "And me?" she asked. He looked at the woman who'd painted him, then lost him, then outlived him. "A woman who learned that seeing and believing aren't synonyms." She nodded. "Then you understand why I hired you. Because I look like a man you hate, because you look like a man I could forgive." She said, "I needed to know if I was right." The March Foundation's restitution initiative launched, more paperwork than the press could bear. Victims came in suits too old for them, dresses that had been good luck. Isolde shook every hand. Lucas brewed tea that did not commit violence. A state committee asked Isolde to testify about predatory restructuring. She did, with sentences like invoices, when they asked why she hadn't pursued criminal charges against friendly accomplices, and invites thieves who take companies to keynote conferences. "Do you mean Mr. Ethan Hale?" the chair asked. "I mean a generation of men," she replied. "But if you want a name that fits, his will do." They asked Lucas to speak. He stepped to the microphone. He looked at a room built to forgive amnesia. "My father was very good at smiling," he said. "He taught me that apologies are cheaper than repairs. Ms. March taught me the opposite." "What would you call what she's doing?" a lawmaker asked. "Vision," Lucas said, without irony. A motion passed to explore a state reparations fund for victims of corporate predation. It wasn't law, it wasn't justice, but it was a road. After the hearing, a woman in a navy suit approached Lucas. "My brother worked for Hale Capital," she said. "When the layoffs came, he understood. He said it wasn't personal. Then he jumped from a bridge." Lucas swallowed. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry," she said. "Be useful." "I'm trying, then keep trying," she said, and left him with the kind of silence that becomes a purpose. Wealth invites crime the way light invites moths. One night at the edge of spring, the alarms drank air, like a drowning man drinks air. And Eamon's voice turned into orders. "Fire, east wing, gallery." Lucas ran before he was told, lungs remembering fear. Smoke fanned the ceiling like a black wedding veil. The portrait room breathed heat, and their flame beginning to taste the canvas of Adrian March. He grabbed the extinguisher and aimed low and patient, The foam hissed like a lyre. The fire retreated. The portrait survived, smoking and offended. Afterward, the investigator found accelerant, a professional's handwriting. Not arson for insurance, arson for erasure. Someone had tried to burn a past. Isolde stood in the ruined air and looked at her husband's spared face. Men who are afraid of portraits, she said, shouldn't have let their faces exist. Do you know who sent the photograph? Lucas asked. Yes, she said. Will you tell the police no? She said. I will send him an invitation. To the unveiling, she said, of the scholarship that will outlive him. They held it in the winter garden after the glass was scrubbed of smoke. Press cameras clicked like insects that had learned the rhythm of greed but came anyway. Isolde wore black because it looked like truth. Lucas wore a suit someone else would have considered expensive. To him, it felt like accountability. Isolde spoke first. The Audiobook March School of Forensic Finance will train students. Follow harm to its author, follow profit to its wound, and name them both in complete sentences. She unveiled a second plaque, the Eleanor Hale Reparations Fund. Lucas blinked at the name. My mother, he asked under his breath. Isolde's mouth softened. Some names deserve redemption. She said, start with hers. Reporters asked questions about repentance and optics. Isolde answered with ledger language and the patience to outlive the news cycle. After, as the crowd thinned and thunder negotiated with the horizon, Lucas asked the question, Ms. March, did you ever plan to hurt me for what my father did? Yes, she said evenly, before I met you. And after, I realized I already had, she said. By hiring you into a house that expected you to become a mirror, he looked at the plaque again. Why my mother's name? Because she sent me a letter 10 years ago, Isolde said. She apologized for nothing she had done and asked me to forgive everything I never would. She said her son deserved a world where punishment felt less like inheritance and more like instruction. You kept that letter. I keep everything that teaches me to be better than I was, she said. He breathed out like a man who had been holding something unnamed. Do you hate me? He asked. I don't hate children for learning the language their fathers spoke too loudly. She said, after a beat, I don't forgive men who pretend to be children to avoid consequences. Which am I? He asked. Someone, she said, who can choose. The house changed its clocks. The kitchen ticked in 2s, the library in 4s. Eamon said time had learned a new music. The staff laughed more. The garden's fountains remembered how to be water instead of architecture. Isolde walked the sculpture court every morning and let light do what it does best, insist. Sometimes she paused before the portrait of Adrian, now sealed, cleaned, guarded. Sometimes she didn't. She returned to painting not people, not faces, but thresholds, doorways, windows, the line where color remembers to be itself. Lucas taught evenings at the school they'd built. He learned to turn pain into curriculum. He brewed tea that was almost gentle. He returned the photograph of his father to the envelope and placed it in the ledger room. Not as evidence, not as confession, but as context. On the anniversary of the surgery, Isolde sat in the winter garden at dusk. The sky practicing its blues. Describe the color, she said. Which the one after rain, she said. The one that forgives rooftops. He considered, then smiled. Mercy, he said. It looks like mercy. She nodded and closed her eyes, not because she needed to, but because darkness is a choice, and that choice is almost a prayer. Mr. Hale, she said quietly. Yes, Ms. March. Thank you, she said, for letting me see who I am in the light. He thought of his father's signature and his mother's letter, of rooms that should have stayed locked, and rooms that only become holy when you unlock them. Thank you, he said, for choosing what to do with what you saw. The evening lowered itself over the estate with the gentleness of a final page. The house listened. The clocks agreed. An old ledger remembered how it felt to be rewritten. Isolde March, who believed sight would teach her revenge, discovered it taught her something rarer. It had taught her to choose.